Hi, my name is Jen. Welcome to my channel, All in My Plants. Today I'm going to start my philodendron tour. I think I'm going to do maybe 10 or 15 per video. Otherwise they could be very long videos. 10 or 15 should keep it manageable for both me to upload time, and also for you to watch. So we're going to get right into it and start with the first one. This is the first one, which I hauled this on this channel. I can't remember if it was my birthday that my family bought me this. Perhaps my birthday. I'm not sure. But this is Philodendron Silver Stripe, I believe, is what we determined it was. If I'm wrong on that, let me know, but I think that's what we figured it out to be. So it's lovely. It's doing quite well. I just staked it not too long ago, and it's gonna need it again. It was growing very small leaves before I staked it, so it was like sizing down, and now it's begun to get bigger again. That was the one after, and then this was the one after that. And then the next on that one will be there. I'm sorry, it just suddenly got dark outside, so I've lost my light. If it's too bad, I'll hook up a ring light. But for now, I think you can still kind of see what I'm talking about, at least with this plant. So this one's doing good. I think I am going to propagate it because it is off the, after this leaf, it will have nothing else to grab onto. So I will probably propagate it back, maybe 4 or 5 leaves, single node, and eventually have a full pot growing up a slightly larger stake. I probably won't do a moss pole with this one because it seems to size up just fine just being staked. I know some plants would really prefer a moss pole, but I think this one doesn't care. But it's lovely, and it's doing really good. And I think, at least indoors, this is the only hanging philodendron I'll have to show you, or trailing. The only one in a hanging basket that is also trailing. So this is Philodendron micans. I think most of us are familiar with it by now. It is lovely. This one might be slightly full of rage. It might not be the happiest because it's been in full sun. It's been in way too much sun. It gets underwatered from time to time. It looks pretty rough across the top and the back side there. But it's, nothing's wrong with it. It's doing fine, really. Every year when I bring it in, I just kind of lob it off. I leave it trailing some, but I usually lob the rest off. That way my cats aren't playing with it. I'm not stepping on it and tripping over it when I'm trying to take it to the shower to give it a rinse or a water. But it does fine. I think the only thing I really have to say about this plant is the difference in lighting between the color of the leaves in very high light and the color of the leaves in slightly lower light. I prefer it in lower light because in high light, I mean, you'll get let's say something more akin to that maybe, and then in lower light you'll get something more like this. So that would be why I prefer the lower light. It's a mix of both because I grow it sometimes inside, sometimes outside. I've probably had this 5 or 6 years. I've sold some, traded some, Oh, also, this doesn't root as quickly or as easily, at least for me, as most other philodendron, particularly trailing philodendron, vining philodendron. And I don't know why that is, but I do, I'll wait until it's showing quite a bit of new growth before I trade it or sell it because of that reason. I have rooted it in water, or tried to, and occasionally it will not grow roots, but will be growing. At least for a period of time, it will put out new growth until it just tanks because it can't support itself. So I don't know what's up with that, but and it's not terrible. We're not talking every single cutting does that, but it's a lovely plant, no less. Lovely. So what are we on? The third plant now, right? This is my Philodendron gloriosum, or at least this is 2 of them. They're kind of, oh gosh, this pot is heavy. They're kind of everywhere. It's a beautiful plant. It's a little angry. You can see there some yellowing. I may have slightly rotted the roots on this, which, I mean, it seems to be doing fine now. We have some new growth down there, if it'll focus. I'm not sure. Oh gosh. I love gloriosum. I love them. I think they're beautiful. This one here is probably a medium. I would consider this a medium-sized plant because I have a larger one outside and I also have a smaller one also outside. But it's a beautiful plant. It's velvety and lovely. It's more maybe suede than velvety. I don't know how to explain that. More velvety, or more suede than velvety, but nevertheless it is a beautiful plant. This is one of the newer leaves. This one here, it's two, one crawling to the left and one crawling to the right. I guess you can see that it's one of the, you know, oblong type pots. And it is kind of large. The pot is kind of large for the amount of roots that these plants had. I mean, they were healthy and they had, you know, plenty of roots for the size of the plant, but the pot is rather large for the size of the roots. So a little bit of root rot may have happened, but we are kind of standing up on our own now and growing. So I'm not overly worried. I just try to be more careful when I water this one. It does have a drainage hole, but it's one central drainage hole in this pot. So, you know, caution is a thing. Ooh. The fourth plant is Philodendron billietiae. I'm not sure if I've mentioned this plant before. I've had it for maybe about a year. I'm not sure. And there's a new leaf coming right there. I completely rotted the roots off of this plant. In the summer it does go out in the greenhouse. It will again this year. And I don't really check things out there to make sure that they need to be watered before I water. Generally because it's very warm in there. And not as humid as you might think. I don't run any humidifiers or anything like that in there. But yeah, things dry fast, generally speaking. And this did not. It did not dry that fast. So I rotted the roots completely off. It was definitely me. It was definitely overwatering. So I cut off anything that was gross or pulled anything off, which most of it just came off. There wasn't much to it when I picked it up. And I put it in a smaller pot with some chunkier soil, and it's grown. It didn't even lose all of its leaves. It did lose a few, but it's grown. It has roots coming out of the pot now. I don't know if we'll be able to see those. Perhaps right there by my finger. That is a root. Sorry, the light is not awesome today. Neither is the focus. It's doing good. It's doing good. I even like the backs of these leaves. Did I show you? I do like even the backs. It's a lovely plant. It really is. It is also a sticky plant. It has extraphloral nectaries pretty commonly on the petiole. You might be able to see some like droplets up there. But it's a great plant. It is tough. It is a tough plant. It is a good plant, and I would recommend it to anyone. I mean, it's a good plant. It takes a lick and keeps on ticking. It does not complain much. I think it could come back from just about anything. I don't have many pest problems with it. I think I might have seen spider mites on it, maybe once, and I can't even see any damage. I'm sure these leaves were still there, at least some of them. I think it's only put out maybe 2 or 3 since it's recovered. Yeah, 2 I'm gonna say, because I think it had 3 left when it was, you know, struggling to survive. But yeah, it grows great as long as it has roots to grow with, so it's a beautiful plant. This guy here, who is that now? 1, 2, 3, 4. Would this be 5? I think this will be 5. I think this is the 5th plant. This is Philodendron squamiferum, and this one is hairy, and not because the petioles are hairy, but just because it has hair on it. Because girl hair is a thing in my house, pet hair also. This is the newest leaf, which is quite lovely. It's quite large. It's a good size. That is the newest leaf. It's not fully hardened off yet, but I suspect that's the size we're going to have there. And then there's another coming here. I haven't had this terribly long. I don't know. I guess I've had it a while. It mostly came with leaves like this, very immature leaves. And you'll notice that there's one of those. And that is mostly an underwatering thing. I don't really, I don't think I water enough in general, but also especially in the winter, because I can't go ham with water like I can outside. That and the risk of root rot is definitely higher in the winter with things inside for me. The air doesn't circulate in here as well as it does outside. They're not getting as much light as they would outside. This one looks like, is it this one? This one. You'll see it looks like it has some sort of nutrient deficiency, and it kind of did. And I'd say that that's because, not that I don't fertilize, but more that I don't water. It's very hard for a plant to take up nutrients when they're not getting enough water to do so. So I think that's what's going on with like the banding there. You can kind of see, yeah. But otherwise, this plant is doing great. I have no complaints about it. Everybody likes the petioles. I guess that's where the party is on this plant. Those red petioles. I don't think they're very, I know they say that they're fuzzy, but they don't feel, they feel almost bristly. I'd say bristly. I think there's a place local that does sell these, and I think they're called bristle stem philodendron, even though it's the petiole. But can you see the color difference here? It's very green, sort of close to this end, and then as you go up it gets more red. Beautiful plant. Long story short, that's what I'm saying, is I like this plant a lot. It's beautiful. It has put up with some abuse and neglect from me, so I assume it will continue to do so in the future, and hopefully I can get slightly better at watering it, because it grows wonderfully. It really does. That's the newest leaf there, or will be. It grows wonderfully. Even with neglect, it's just taking a licking and keep on ticking. It did drop some of the lower leaves, but I mean, that's to be expected. Whether I neglect it or not, at some point they were going to go. And the sixth plant I'm showing you today, I hauled this one also, I can't remember, February maybe. This is the Philodendron Brasil. And I do like Brazil quite a bit. Oh look, that's even better on that side. You can see all the leaves that are coming out, very brightly colored. It is a lovely plant. It kind of sits on a shelf in my bedroom, like above my bed. And I can't wait until it's trailing and just like hanging there over my bed. Does that make sense? But I can't wait for that. I just hope I don't like snag it one night or one morning and like pull this pot down on my head. It's kind of heavy. You can see it now. Hey, what happened to Jen? Well, she clunked herself in the head with a plant pot. No one will be surprised. No one, not even me. So anyway, it grows great, and I'm not going to stake this or any part of it. I'm just going to leave it trailing, because like I said, I have fantasies of somehow concussing myself with this plant pot. But it's very pretty. It is very pretty. I like it quite a bit. I think it's the variety. Like some leaves you get and they're just lovely, especially if the light will show them. But you never know what you're going to get. It's lots of variety. Lots of variety with this plant. The seventh plant I'm going to show you today, I also hauled recently, and that's the Philodendron glorious. He's so cute. We do have some damage. It was water rooted. It had very substantial water roots, so I assume it was in there for quite a while. I did not I didn't root it myself. It came to me fully rooted, and they filled out this little pot quite well. There's a little plastic like nursery pot in there. This was the first leaf that came out in my care, so that's not ideal. It just never opened. I mean, it's not fully stuck shut, but it didn't unfurl. And then this is the next one, so we're excited for that one to open. It's doing really good, I think. I mean, I know it looks a little tatty and damaged, but we're not worried about that. New leaves grow, obviously, and as long as they don't look like that when they grow. What are you? Perlite. Okay, as long as they don't look like this when they're new, I'm not concerned. I'm pretty sure that this is just from having to acclimate and get used to soil. So, you know, it's unavoidable sometimes. I don't know how I'd avoid that. It got angry. And it's fine because it seems to be okay now. Seems to be quite okay. I can't wait for that to open. I probably shouldn't be squeezing on it, huh? But yeah, so that is the, what, 7th plant? Let's do another one. I hauled this one on this channel as well. This is, I think it said Rhubarb Juvenile and El Choco Red or something like that on it. This was the leaf that was on it when I got it. And then this was the next leaf, which, look at this thing. Look at this. Is that not beautiful? Comes off quite nicely on camera, I think. And then this is the most recent leaf. So pretty. So pretty. The back of the original leaf had 0 red on it. It has a slight blush, I'll put it that way. I don't think it's coming off on camera at all, but it did have a slight blush. But then the new ones were red, were really red, and I don't think it's showing quite as red as I see it in person. Probably the lighting is a little weird, but yeah, I love this plant. It grows quite well. It's got another new leaf working its way out right there. So that's awesome. Very tight internodal spacing. If I had to, or not if I had to, if I wanted to, or had to, you never know, try to propagate or reroot this plant from up here, it's very tightly together. Pardon the yucky sheath, but maybe you can see past it to see what I'm talking about there. Very close together. This is an enormous chunk that's in here. When this plant came to me, it was rotted. The roots were rotted. I got it from a local nursery, garden center, I don't know. Not a big box store, but and it wasn't drying, so I pulled it out to check it, like what's up with this soil. And what was up was it was very like peat heavy. It had sphagnum moss in it. It was just, everything about that soil said, I'm going to retain moisture forever. So it had a smell. It had a smell, and it didn't have any roots on it. None. Like none were viable, I'll say that. They were either very thin or very squishy, or there was just not much left to those roots that was going to help this plant. So I cut off what I could, put it in a chunkier soil. I put it right back in the same pot it came in, actually. I only just recently repotted it because it was full of roots, which I thought was incredible and amazing. So it's a very good one. El Choco, or Rhubarb Juvenile. Oh, another thing that's interesting about this plant, the stems are not smooth. They are sort of textured. I don't know if that's visible at all, but it's a very cool feature. And sometimes they blush as well. If we can get it to focus. Like, they will be kind of red on one side sometimes. I don't know if that's showing at all, but it's very interesting. You can kind of see it at the base here. How it's pretty red. But it's a great plant. It seems to grow pretty fast, especially once it, has roots. Are we on 9? I think we're on 9. Who's going to be number 9? How about you? I hauled this one pretty recently, maybe March or April, I'm not sure. This is Philodendron Paraiso Verde. And I love it. When I first got this plant, I don't think I had seen it in person before I bought it. I'd seen it on the internet and went, oh, that's cool. But in person, it's one of those plants you look at the variegation and you're like, is that plant quite well? Is there something wrong with it? And it's not that it looks unhealthy, it's that the variegation is unusual. A lot of it has darkened off on these and it's hard to see. It's kind of splotchy and speckly and streaky and just very unusual. And then, other ones it looks like you can't see it. Here, let's try this one. There we go. It looks sort of splotchy. I have not seen any like sectoral or anything on this plant. I don't know, maybe that is a thing with this plant. I just haven't seen it, you know, on mine or on any that I've seen. So this leaf is the newest one. Why it came out like that, I couldn't tell you. I believe it was like when it was still doing the cigarette paper, the cigar thing, you know, it was all twisted up still. It looked unusual even then, so I don't know. It can do what it wants. It's a good grower, other than this weird leaf. It's grown pretty quickly. I did stick just a little piece of bamboo in there to kind of support it, because the plant itself is kind of wobbly in the pot as well. But, and also I see like extra floral nectaries on the stem of this one, so this might also be a sticky plant. But it's lovely. It grows quite well. It hasn't lost any leaves, and I will be honest, I have forgotten to water it a time or two, but it's pretty easy to tell because the leaves will start to, you know, let you know that they're thirsty. I kind of like plants that are like, hey, by the way, you haven't watered me in 4 days. You might want to check me out. I do like that about a plant. Like peace lilies. But anyway, so that's Paraiso Verde. I'm planning on putting this one outside because if you'll notice, a lot of the leaves, they were very bright on this plant. Like very white or very pale green. Mintier than they are now when I first got this plant, and I'm pretty sure that's light. I had it in the cabinet and they were continuing to stay that way, but now that I've taken them out and kind of set them over here, it's kind of around the corner from, there's a window, and then it's kind of around the corner from the window. Since I've set them there, or this there, it's not quite as white. Even the newest leaf didn't come out quite as bright as the others, so I think it would appreciate a little bit higher light. Maybe the plant doesn't care, but I would appreciate it if the variegation was more contrasted, which would require whiter leaves. So, but yeah, it's beautiful. But yeah, it's going outside. I think it'll like it out there. Most of them do. What are we on now? Number 10. Here's a plant I've never shown before. I don't think I have anyway. This is my Philodendron plumatum, which it's full of rage. This is the oldest leaf on it, I believe. We have pests all the time. We throw a complete fit if I am the slightest bit late on watering. Look, I think it has spider mites right now. Let me see if I can show you. Right there, if it'll focus. It will eventually, I promise you. Right there, it seems to have spider mites. So that's fun. It is in systemic, but I think I've mentioned before that systemics do nothing for spider mites. That's definitely spider mites. But, so this plant's a pain in the butt, but I love it. Philodendron plumatum. And, dust on that one. It does kind of have some silvery markings. They're not nearly as bright as I see on some other people's plants. I don't know why that is. It's a slow grower for me. A very slow grower. This is the newest leaf. That's not damaged. That actually came out that way. Unless it got damaged somehow while it was still furled. But it's a lovely plant. I do like this plant. It's just the spider mites and its tendency to throw a fit are kind of frustrating. It has a new leaf trying to make its way there. A lot of people like the petiole of this plant. It's kind of flat but ruffled along the edge, which is very cool. I'll be the first to admit it. You could call that flat. It's very slim. I'll put it that way. It's not really like D-shaped or round at all. The ruffle on this one is a little bit more obvious perhaps than on the older one. It's a cool plant. It is, even though spider mites are always a thing. Like, do they have a systemic for spider mites? Because I need that. I'm so frustrated with this plant. I have a few of these around. This is by far the biggest. Because when I first got this plant, I kind of fried it. I had it outside in the greenhouse, and I had it kind of pulled away, like towards the front of a shelf in a shaded area. And I don't know why, but this plant kept going towards like it kept leaning into the direct sun. No matter where I put it, it would grow that direction, it would lean that way. And eventually all the leaves had sunburn, every single one of them. So I chopped them off and I chopped up the node. And I think we have 3 surviving. This one, and another small one about this size that is outside also. This damage here, the sheath, like, if we can focus on it. Yeah, the damage on the edge there is actually the sheath stuck to the leaf. It stayed furled forever, and then as it unfurled, it just kind of continued to stick, and the leaf kind of like shrunk with it as it dried. So I guess I'll be treating these guys for spider mites again today. I don't know if you can see, but this one does have some of those like silvery markings on the leaf. I don't know, this light is not showing that. But yes. So how many was that? Was that 10? I think that might have been 10. So I guess we'll stop it there. I think I only have a few more in here. But we'll get to those the next go round. So yeah, that was the 10. Thank you for watching. Thank you for hanging out with me, and come back and check me out soon. Thanks. Bye.